Hey there, everyone. I am Kim Snyder of Reverse Your Funnel. For those of you who don't know me, there are a couple of, actually quite a few familiar faces in the room tonight, but I know I am a new unfamiliar face for some of you. I want to welcome you to tonight's Sales Funnel Masterclass, where tonight I'm going to show you how to double your expert business, 13x profits so that you can take more out of your business without having to create a bunch of blog posts, do a podcast, post on social media, have a big email list, or even a big ad budget. Now, I'm guessing that for a lot of you, this is probably not your first rodeo. And I'm betting it's also probably not your first webinar. And the first thing that I want to assure you is that if you failed at online sales funnels in the past, it's not your fault. There is a lot of information out there, and it can be really, really confusing. Many times that information overload is what's keeping you from success. So I just want to let you know it's okay. You are still in the right place. And if you've been concerned in the past that everyone else seems to be successful with online funnels, or, at least they claim to be, and you're not, I want to put those fears to rest as well. You can definitely do this. You just need the right person to explain it to you in the right way. And hopefully I'm that person. You see, the internet marketing gurus, they all want you to think that you need a content creation machine or a huge team and budget in order to be successful. But I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. They have their own reasons for wanting you to think that, but it's not true. If you've ever thought that what works for the big guys just doesn't work for small businesses like ours, you're probably right. Because here's the thing that they're not getting. We have very different constraints than them. Less resources, shorter time horizons, shorter attention spans, and a lot less margin for error. So that's what we're here for tonight. I know that you, as an expert business owner, have a dream to change the world, make an impact with your business, and I want to show you how to make that happen during this webinar. Does that sound good? Great. Because my goal for this presentation is to help two types of people. For those who are struggling to either get their expert business off the ground, or maybe it's off the ground, but you've become stagnated or stopped growing, and for whatever reason, you just can't seem to get your head around this new way of growing your business. Well, for you, you'll get a step-by-step recipe book that tells you exactly what to do and what order to do it in. No need for interpretation or guessing. And for those of you who are you already have a successful business, a growing business, well, you will get the secret to wringing more profit out of the assets that you already have and the work that you've already done. Make sense? And by the time we finish tonight, my goal is for you to understand, as I do, that the only way for us to exponentially grow a micropreneurial venture, which I should probably just stop here for a second and define what I mean, because I use the term micropreneur a lot, and I do that because the technical definition of small business is up to $50 million a year in revenue, and that doesn't cover us. So when I say micropreneur, I am defining that as somewhere in like 1 to 5 people doing $2 million or less in revenue. So in order for us to exponentially grow a micropreneurial venture, is to focus on the bottom of the funnel. And the only way, the best way, to accomplish the sorts of results that I'm going to share with you tonight is through the reverse funnel building process. Now, I was talking the other day with one of my reverse funnel workshop members, and I started talking about the first course I created. Back then, there was no such thing as an online course. I'm dating myself. We had to do it all up close and personal. Public seminars were, the thing back then. And I realized that I never talk about that course anymore. For some reason, I only talk about the fact that we were number 826 on the Inc. list. Well, it's a funny thing. When I stopped to look at it, that little course that I created back in 2001 to date has sold over $11 million of revenue. And the total sales, that was just the course, the total sales, including the consulting and the software tools and asset management, that's $31 million. And it's the funniest thing because I never stopped to add it up until just the other day when I was getting ready. Ron and I started talking, and I realized that there was something really useful in that story for you all to help you understand. And I went and looked it up. So here is that backstory. For those of you who don't know, which I'm going to assume is most of you, I invented a method of investing back in the late 1990s after a very well-known Wall Street brokerage firm lost everything that I had made when the first company I worked for out of college went public. And so I started teaching my investment strategy. I wouldn't even call it a method at that point, right? To a couple of friends in 2000. And what I was talking to Ron about yesterday is the fact that in the early days, the way that what we did is my friend / students and I would go to the local Owens Family Restaurant off of LBJ Freeway in Dallas, LBJ and the Tollway, if any of you are familiar with Dallas. On Wednesday evenings, we would sit, have coffee, and get something to eat at night, and I would just sit and brain dump on them. That's how it started. It wasn't pretty and polished at first. It was just me getting what I was doing intuitively out of my head. And it worked both ways. It was a benefit on both sides, because from my side, it gave me the chance to try to articulate what I was doing, to try to systemize it and strip away the pieces that weren't essential. And for them, they got something that they could model. And what ended up happening is that over a period of a few years, it ultimately became this very strictly codified system of investing for retirement that made a lot of money for a lot of people, especially those early adopters who hung out with me at Owens. But and I don't know what it is now, but at one point, there was over $500 million invested in the Snyder method. Now, you may be wondering what all that has to do with you. When I taught investing in personal finance, I believed, still do believe, in the core of my being that knowing how to invest your own money was a critical life skill, like swimming. They should teach it at summer camp because everyone has to be able to do it in order to live 30 plus years in retirement without ending up under a bridge eating cat food. And yet none of us were taught. We only learn the way that makes Wall Street rich, not what is best for us. So this is a little bit like deja vu, because guess what? The ability to acquire a new client at a profit is the single most important skill a small business owner can have. It's almost like swimming or investing. And in fact, the ability to create a client at a profit is business. If you can't do it and you rely on someone else to do it for you, you don't have a business. They do. And I'm equally horrified that we're being taught the wrong way to do it. Now, we just covered 17 years of my life in under like 2 minutes, right? So you may be wondering how I got from inventing a retirement investment method to online sales funnels and Facebook ads, right? And I don't blame you for that. So I want to give you the rest of the story, but I'm looking at a couple of the comments, which is, and so I just want to stop and check in on that. Much better. Isn't that interesting? Just the old wired buds. Okay, let's go with that and see how it goes. Rolling on. So let me tell you the rest of the story. Actually, got to get back on my correct slide thing here. So my husband and I retired from our investment firm in 2009 and retired to Aiken, South Carolina in 2011. That's a picture of our downtown right there. Very horsey town. And the only problem was that Jim had no problem being retired, but I just could not keep still. So I had this idea that I was going to build the first online instruction site for polo players, because we didn't have anything like that as a sport. By the way, I play polo. That's why we moved to Aiken. And I did. I built this site called Polo Skills, which I ended up selling to the United States Polo Association, which was pretty fun for about a year because I got to travel around the world filming the world's best polo players and meeting them, and got the world's coolest polo lesson. But while I was working on Polo Skills, I got involved with Infusionsoft. That was our back end. And when I bought or wanted to buy Infusionsoft, they wanted to charge me this huge fee for onboarding. And so I decided instead I would become an Infusionsoft certified partner to save that fee and training costs. Well, after Polo Skills, I ended up creating an Infusionsoft custom development shop called the API Guys, mainly because the USPA needed help supporting Polo Skills, which I had just sold to them. And there was a huge need for Infusionsoft custom development, as it turns out. And so it just took off. We were at around $400,000 a year in revenue within that first year, with no marketing, no nothing, literally just word of mouth. And even though it was a great business and a really profitable business, it wasn't a great business for me. I did not enjoy it. So I sold that to my project manager, Monica Burden. So if you need any Infusionsoft custom development, make sure you check in with the API Guys. But then it got really interesting. About the time that I was selling the API Guys, I was approached by someone in the Infusionsoft world who was supposedly this big hotshot marketing guy and big into Facebook, and I won't name names, but he wanted to partner on a piece of software that synced the contacts in Infusionsoft with Facebook, so that you could tell Facebook to send or show ads to the specific people from Infusionsoft, right? So it's just like for those of you who use Infusionsoft or any sort of similar CRM, you put a tag on people and you say, show an email or send an email to the people who have this tag, but not that tag. Well, it's the same thing, only in the case of Facebook, we're syncing them over there and saying, instead of showing them an email, instead of sending them an email, show them an ad, okay? So the idea was that he was going to do all the marketing and I was going to handle the development and operations side, which was great because even though, I'm now on business number 14 that I've started, as it turns out, I really hadn't had to market anything online. Everything that I had built since my investment firm was just organic growth in niche markets. Well, let's just say that that partnership did not go very well and it dissolved very fast. And when it did, I ended up with the company and the software, which was renamed to Sync to CRM. And so suddenly I had to learn all this new stuff, or if I didn't, I was going to lose everything that I had invested in this software. And it was a lot of money. So what do you do? Well, without even knowing or trying anything, I just assumed, I thought that Facebook in particular was complicated, and I was just sure I was going to lose a lot of money trying to figure it all out. So I started doing what everyone else does, which was taking courses and reading books and listening to gurus on podcasts. Well, everyone, to a man or woman, as the case may be, all said the same thing. They all preach top-down, content-first funnels. So that was what I did. Now, let me just explain to you the top-down funnel real quick. You start by creating a bunch of valuable content to warm up your new leads, okay? And with a lot, or a bunch being the keyword. And then you show Facebook ads to the people who visited your content to get them to opt in to a lead magnet. And then you offer them a cheap, what they call a tripwire offer. It does two things. One, it pays for your ads in theory. And two, psychologically, because they've made a small purchase from you, now it's changed the relationship from a prospect to a customer. And then finally, you offer them your core product or service. Now, there are three glaring problems with this approach. First is it takes a bunch of time and money to create all that stuff. A lot of time and money. Have you ever tried it? As long as I've been doing this, I'm still amazed at how often I sit down and think, oh, I'll just whip out a quick lead magnet or an email sequence. And like 3 days later, I am still not done. The second issue is that the 80-20 rule eats our lunch. Here's what you have to know. 20% or less of the content we create produces 80% of the traffic. 10% of the content produces 90% of the opt-ins. 20% of your emails get opened. The other 80% don't. Only 20% of your ads are profitable. 80% of your offers fail. And 80% of leads drop out of the funnel without buying. That is why it is called a funnel, because people are lost at each step. So if you put the time it takes to build a funnel together with an 80% failure rate of each component part, it's a recipe for disaster. Here's why. The way around the 80-20 rule is diligent testing at each and every step. Now, when I said diligent testing, how many of you, like, your eyes rolled back in your head and your hair lit on fire, right? But I'll explain why that would be the answer if this is the way you're going to do it. Because the flip side of that is if all you do is just run one of everything, right? One piece of content, one lead magnet, one landing page, one ad, one audience, one, right? If all you do is run one of everything, if you take that 20% times 20% times 20% times 20%, 420% is 0.0032%. That is your odds of success. Okay? But because of our as micropreneurs, our time and budget constraints, like, that's almost all micropreneurs do. Even when we have the best of intentions. And even at that, just one of everything, it's a lot of time and effort, only to get it built out and discover all the way at the very end that, oh crap, there is, like, what is this? A wad of bubble gum blocking the bottom of our funnel, So you do all that work and you get all the way to the end and get nothing or next to nothing. And the truth is, what you end up building through no fault of your own, because of all the challenges that you have, is it's half-baked at best. It's a disease. I call it HAMS, for half-assed marketing syndrome. Maybe this sounds familiar. I couldn't finish anything. I couldn't test anything. I didn't measure anything. And nothing was really working. I was just kind of limping along. And so then I tried outsourcing. And that didn't work either. Don't even get me started on that. So there's a saying, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So out of self-defense, just as I had done with investing, I stopped digging and asked myself if there wasn't a better way. There had to be, right? Because what supposedly worked for the big guys was not working for me. And it wasn't for lack of trying. It was obvious that I was just beating my head against the wall. Now, I am a big fan of a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It is for sure in my top 5 most influential business books ever, and probably number 1. So I decided to apply the one thing to my internet marketing of Sync to CRM. In the one thing, he has what he calls a clarifying question, which is brilliant. It's, what is the one thing that, if I did it right now, would make everything else easier or even unnecessary? And whatever that is, you do that and only that. Not load balancing, one thing at a time, linear. Okay? So ask yourself, think about this, okay? I did. At that point in time, I said, all right, so, what's the one thing that's going to make everything else easier or unnecessary? Is that creating a bunch of free content? No. I'll tell you what it was. It's getting people to pay you. Making an offer that people want so there is money coming in the door. That is what would make everything easier, because for me, even at that time, we were burning cash, right? Okay, fine. So I make an offer. I figure out what people will buy. I get a little bit of money coming in the door. Then what? Now content? No. Leads? More leads. I thought so. So that was when I dived whole hog into learning Facebook advertising, which I did, but that wasn't it. I'll tell you exactly when the epiphany of the reverse funnel came. I was putting together a spreadsheet to measure the ROI on my Facebook ads, and I started messing around with some numbers. And in the moment I realized that if I double the number of leads coming in the top of my funnel, that's the top line on your screen, right? So in this case, from 1,000 to 2,000. I may double my revenue, yes. In this case, from 1,200 to 2,400 on the right. But I also double my risk because there's now twice as much ad spend. I double my work because I'm dealing with more people. And I'm getting the exact same return on my money. In this case, a 20% ROI on the bottom row on both sides, both columns, left and right. But get this, if all I do was instead, for example, to improve my purchase conversion rate from, say, 1% to 2% on the exact same number of leads, okay? 1,000 on both sides. The exact same amount of work, the exact same amount of risk. My profit went up from 20% ROI to 140%. From From profit $200 to $1,400. That's a 7x increase right there on the exact same number of leads, all other things being equal. And if I could get it to go from 1% to 3%, it then went up to a 260% ROI, or a 13x increase with absolutely nothing else changing. This is the small hinge that moves the big door. And in fact, that is true all along the funnel. It's the very nature of a funnel where you lose people at each stage, that improvements you make nearer the bottom of the funnel have exponentially greater impact on the bottom line than at the top of the funnel. So that's what I did, and I haven't looked back since. The top-down funnel is wrong. It takes too long. There are too many steps. Most people don't read or watch your stuff anyway. There's too much risk for too little reward. It sucks. And there's a better way. It's to focus on the bottom of the funnel. That is where the gold is. Now, you may not be in the exact same business as me or have the same experience as me, but experiences as me, I try to say, but this is what we have in common. We both then sold a bill of goods, that we need content and more leads. And once we have a profitable campaign, you scale it up so that you can get even more leads and create even more content and hire more people and run on that hamster wheel even faster. Like, take a deep breath, y'all. It's not right. You can see it's not right. Look at the math. So let me share with you 3 secrets that have allowed me to start a brand new business from a standing start with no list, no team, just me, no social media, no podcast, and no huge ad budget, to over 6 figures in just 6 months. And it's a meta business, in fact, because the funny thing is, it uses the reverse funnel to sell the reverse funnel, right? So, but let me show you what I've figured out and what it's doing for me. And because I'm here to tell you right now, if I can do it, that you can do it too. So secret number 1 is that the magic is in the hook. In fact, dollars to donuts, you are here right now because of my hook. And I'll explain what it is and how without it, your funnel simply will not work. Secret number 2 is to fill your funnel using Facebook ads. And secret number 3 is create a paycheck at will. So let's go through these one at a time. Secret number 1. The magic is in the hook. What does that mean? What is a hook? Well, one of the things that we go through in the reverse funnel workshop is the 5P framework for describing your offer. And the 5 Ps are premise, problem, promise, process, and price. So the hook is a way of describing either the problem and or promise in a way that creates an energetic response. Now, what the heck does that mean? An energetic response, really? Yeah. You know how when you're in a crowded room and someone says your name and you can hear it all the way across the room over all the loud conversation and clinking silverware, and your head snaps around to see who said your name and what they said about you? It's like that. When someone who is your target audience hears your hook, you want what I call the head snap, okay? That's what I mean when I say an energetic response. A friend of mine, Al McCree, who also happens to be in the reverse funnel workshop, manages another friend of ours, the comedian Jeannie Robertson. And you may have heard Jeannie. She was Miss North Carolina of 1963. She's 6'2" tall, very Southern. Her son's name is Beaver, really, and she's hysterically funny. So her signature story is a bit called never send a man to the grocery store. Now, for her ideal target audience, that hook creates the head snap, the energetic response that has produced over 25 million YouTube views and sold a lot of concert tickets and speeches. Okay, that is the power of a good hook. Now, for you men, Perry Marshall says it's like racking a shotgun. You know that noise you hear when someone puts a shell in and then pulls back the pump handle, that chunk sound, right? That's a really distinctive sound. And it describes a problem or promise, if you want to look at it that way, right? In a way that creates an energetic response. Am I right? If someone hears that sound anywhere, their head is gonna snap around involuntarily. So the easiest way to structure a hook, it's not the only way, but it's the easiest way, is how to blank without blank. Where the first blank is something they really, really want, and the second blank is something they really, really don't. Mine, for example, is how to grow your expert business and 3 to 10x profits so that you can take more money out of that business without, by the way, that was the part that y'all want, right? Without needing a blog, podcast, social media, big email list, or large ad budget. That's the part we all don't want. Now, does that sound familiar? It should, because whether you got here because you saw a Facebook ad or an email or both, they all led with this hook. Remember when I told you earlier about my investment firm and that we taught people how to invest for retirement? Well, truth be told, when I first started teaching my method, I wasn't thinking about people using it for retirement at all. But a couple of years after I started the company, I just happened to go to this, it was odd really, but I went to this really small conference on retirement income in Boston. It was a professional conference, not for investors. So it wasn't, it wasn't like I was there trying to get business. It was a bunch of academics. Thank goodness I did go, because I walked away from that conference understanding there was a massive problem bearing down on us, 76 million baby boomers without enough money to retire, and that my investment method could solve that for a large swath of them. So the first big stair step in our growth was when I found that audience and started framing the Snyder method as a solution to the retirement income problem. And that was good, but I'll tell you, I can see the day that we really took off. It's still as clear as day in my mind. I was on stage, and that's what we did back then. We didn't have webinars, right? So we stood on stage and pitched that way, right? So I mentioned that the proverbial we, wanted to manage our investments so that we could live comfortably and without fear of being 90 years old, living under a bridge, eating cat food. And it was instant. You might have even kind of, depending on if you're in the demographic or not, right? When I said it, you might have felt it, right? That energetic response I'm talking about. For my target audience, that produces electricity that I could feel all the way up on the stage. Now, they were already looking at me, so there was no actual head snap, but it was as real as if they had. And I knew it in that instant. It's like the Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart said about pornography, right? I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And I rode that hook to over $4 million a year in sales and a spot on the Inc. list 2 years in a row. And I can give you other examples as well. Some of you may know I have dogs. You might have, and horses, right? I live on a farm. You see those in my Facebook ads. Well, there's a company called Whistle that makes GPS tracking devices that clip on a dog's collar. When Whistle first launched, they almost went bankrupt because they had the wrong hook. They were trying to sell Whistle as a way to keep track of your pet's daily activity level, like what do you call it? Fitbit for your dog. Wrong hook, right? So how did they save the company? By fixing the hook. Never lose your pet again. What happened then? As soon as they did that, sales turned around, venture capital, $55 million comes pouring in, okay? The magic is in the hook. Then, once you get your hook right, attracting qualified leads into the top of the funnel is easy. Now, 2 guesses how we do that. Lots and lots of valuable content. No, just kidding. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. No, we're going to fill our funnel with Facebook ads. Now look, just to be clear, I'm not saying that content is bad. In fact, I built Snyder Advisors on content marketing before there was even a term for it. And of course, right? Irony. Just today, an amazing prospect fell in my lap. And when I asked him how he heard about me, guess what he said? A piece of content that I created a long time ago for Sync to CRM about how to increase relevance score. So I'm not saying it's bad or never works. What I am saying is that for micropreneurs, it is not the first thing we do. It is not the top of the funnel because it is not the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary. And it won't be the one thing until almost the last thing, if you think about it. So no, we don't use content to fill our funnel. I rely on paid traffic and specifically Facebook advertising. Now, why? Well, a number of reasons. One, it's fast and efficient. I have a template and a process for creating my ads now that it just works. So it takes me a tiny fraction of the time that it takes me to be putting free content out all over the world and trying to get backlinks and all that yada yada, right? Number 2 is that it's totally controllable. It's like my water spigot. I turn it on and leads come out. I turn it off, they stop. I don't have to worry about an unreliable supply. And number 3, it is profitable. Those of you who came in via Facebook ad cost me on average about $1.26 each. Now you may be thinking that, well, that's all well and good, but the reason I'm getting $1.26 leads is because I have some special skill or talent. I don't. What I do have is a system. And what is a system? Well, a system is just a set of steps that when repeated over and over again produces a predictable results. So let's look at Corey. Corey started the reverse funnel workshop in April. And you can see that he's already been able to use what he learned to get his lead costs down from $9 before to under $1 now. 52 cents now, right? He's actually doing way better than I am. So you're probably thinking that Facebook is hard or scary or risky. It's not so. I mean, I totally get why you might think that. I think I already mentioned that I was totally intimidated and overwhelmed by Facebook ads when I first started. But like so many things, when I got in there, I realized it wasn't hard at all. In fact, I can teach anyone the mechanics. In fact, let's just do that. Let's go in right now and create the ad I ran for this webinar. Right now, just again, it's not about a Facebook tutorial, but I want to show you that this is actually quite easy. And I'm going to do this with a video, and the reason I'm going to do it that way is it keeps me from having to bop in and out of Keynote, and also it keeps me from rambling. All right, so let's see if this is going to work. Okay, so I just hop out of Keynote here, and I'm going to go over to Facebook. I have some things organized for us here. Specifically, I've got my ad copy here. And what we're going to do is go to Facebook Ads Manager, which I can get to a number of ways. But in this case, I'll just click right there on my ad account. That brings me to an overview of my campaigns. So just one thing to show you very quickly. If I limit these to the campaigns that were active for this particular webinar, which is this one, and I go over here to the ad sets. Now, for those of you who don't, this was not meant to be a Facebook tutorial. We do all of that in the reverse funnel workshop. However, one of the things that I did want to show you is I had mentioned that those of you who came from a webinar had cost me, I think I said $1.40 something, because that's what it was last time I looked. However, right at the moment, you can see that you all are costing me about $1.69. Okay. And this has only been running for literally a couple days since late Sunday night. And those are the results that we're getting. Okay. So if I wanted to go create the ad that I used for this webinar, what I would do is I would say create ad, which was that green button. I pick an objective. In my case, the objective is conversions because I want you all to sign up for something, which is my webinar. I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it Webinar Demo is our campaign name. And I say continue. So you can see that for those of you who are not familiar with Facebook, it's very much like a wizard now. Up here, I will put the name of the audience I'm going to target. So let's just say that we are going to do Russell Brunson. So I put that there. It is, we don't want that. We want to, now it's asking, what is the conversion event that we are optimizing for? And in this case, it's registering for the webinar. Okay, I have those pre-set up. That's something that we also cover very early in the reverse funnel workshop. So I've told it that. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, I'm not going to mess with this for now. We'll just leave it United States 18 to 65 all. But when I hit this drop down, you can see the sorts of people that I tend to target. And that is why they're appearing there in that drop down. I said we were going to do Russell Brunson. We might do more than one, but for purposes of this, we'll just do that one. We'll leave it as is there. In terms of placements, let's just say, for example, that I don't want to do audience network. Don't worry if you don't know what that is. I don't want to do Instagram either. And on Facebook, I only want to do the feeds. Okay, so you can see that there is a great deal of granularity depending on how much you want to go beyond the preset or recommendations. Daily budget, I can go as low as $5 a day or as high as thousands of dollars a day if I want to. I'm going to say, again, this is optimized for conversions. My click window is 1 day, meaning typically when someone's registering for a webinar, they're going to go straight, they're going to click through to the site and they're going to convert right then and there. It's a fairly quick conversion, so I want them to optimize based on that. I let them handle the bid amount and everything else is good. I say continue. Now, we're here, as you can see on the left-hand side on the ad itself, and I am going to say webinar, and I'm going to say double because that's going to be the headline, I think, that I use. And I'm going to say Brunson because he was my ad target. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, create a new ad. I got to pick which page this ad is going to be attached to. That is this Kim Snyder page. for now, very simple. We'll just do a single image ad. In terms of the images, I already have some in my library that I'm going to use. But if I needed to upload a new one, it's very simple. I would do it right here. So I'm going to choose from my library, and we'll just, what the heck, use that one of the cat and say done. It's going to ask me what page on the website am I taking them to. So here is where my sheet that I write out in advance of doing these ads comes in handy. You can see that I already put my URL up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like that, reverse your funnel sales funnel masterclass. That is the registration page for this webinar. The headline, I have two different headlines written. I am going to go on this particular one with this one. I usually run multiple ads at the same time to test them. We'll just do this one. Purpose is only really just for those of you who have never done Facebook ads before, to show you it is probably a lot easier just in terms of the basic mechanics than you might think. Notice over here, they are giving us a preview of what that looks like as we are creating it, so we can see how it shows up for someone. And now here is my text. I use pretty long text on purpose in my ads. In fact, my ad copy is really very close to, almost identical to, in fact, an email that I write. And so I just cut and paste that right in there. There is my ad copy. I am going to put a sign up button right there down on the bottom right. The news feed link description only shows up sometimes, but I'm going to put it in there. It's going to tell you what to do. Click through to register only after you read what I wrote you above. Notice it does not show. If I had a shorter headline, it would have down below my headline, but that's okay. I put it in there anyway. And everything else, that's it. My ad is literally done. It's complete. And when I say, as I will, place order, it will go out. Facebook will review it to make sure it doesn't violate any of Facebook's terms and policies. And once they have satisfied themselves that it's a good ad, then they will turn it on and let it run. So I'm going to do that, and then we will pop back over to the webinar. Okay, so for those of you, two questions. For those of you who haven't worked with Facebook before, Gunnar was just chatting me that he had a hard time seeing the screen. But it really, the point wasn't really about, it's not like you're going to go follow any of that. It was really, the point was, you know, just for those of you who haven't worked with Facebook before, was that simpler than you thought? And then the other question was, did any of you happen to notice what was the headline? It was my hook, right? That's the key. So when it comes to Facebook ads, you know, maybe you've been thinking that you need to be Ernest Hemingway or Annie Leibovitz or Martin Scorsese. You don't. As you just saw, I follow a copy template. The best images right now, the things that are working best, are the simplest ones that look like something that you would post on your personal news feed, like the cat or a picture of you. That's why I use a lot of times my dogs and my horses. And there's lots of software out there that is just dummy proof for making images and video. Because, look, I promise you that when God was giving out creativity, I was hiding behind the door. That is not my thing. Or, you know, maybe you're thinking that, well, my market just isn't on Facebook. Okay. There are over 1.4 billion people on Facebook every single day. I mean, we are living in a world where, for better or for worse, even our president is on social media. So no matter who you sell to or where they are, there is a critical mass of them on Facebook. Just as an kind of an edge case, right? I have one of my students who does high six figures selling to churches online. They buy their church supplies from him through Facebook ads. Okay, so I mean, if you just think about it, all these people, well, they've got kids and sisters and brothers and nieces, nephews, grandchildren, interests outside of work too. So when they're on Facebook, just because it might not be during work, they're looking at pictures of the grandkids or what have you, right? They still see your ad and they're still affected by them. So a lot of the things that people think would not work on Facebook, they do. Does that make sense? Now, Facebook advertising is an inexhaustible supply of cheap, qualified leads once you know how to do it. And it's just much more efficient and predictable than something like content marketing, not to keep dumping on content marketing, but, or SEO or what have you, right? So maybe you're thinking that an expert can do it better than you, which is a perfect segue into secret number 3, which is to create a paycheck at will. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that the ability to create an online sales funnel is a life skill for any small business owner. Like swimming, okay? Without it, you will drown. So they should teach this at small business owner summer camp. I also believe that there is no more important job you can be doing than sales and marketing for your business. Imagine this. You own a really successful business doing high-end residential hardscapes, patios, barbecue, outdoor kitchens, those sorts of things, right? And you spent years building a successful business, mostly by word of mouth, and you decide that you want to expand. So you hire someone to come in and do your marketing for you. He starts running Facebook ads. They're successful. The business grows. Then one day, he walks out and takes your customer list with him. Wait for it, and starts a competing firm. This happened to one of my students, not in my reverse funnel program, but earlier in my Facebook ads mastery course. So what do you think he did? He hired another gal to do his Facebook advertising, but after he had learned to do it himself. Okay? If tomorrow everything else went away, all your clients, all your money, all your employees, if you can do this one thing, the ability to bring in a client at a profit, you still have a business. If you can't, the person who does know has a business, right? And do you want to know how I went from a corporate job to starting my investment firm? I'll tell you a story I've never told before now. I mentioned earlier that I had made a lot of money when a company that I worked for right out of college went public. I was not quite 30 years old at the time, and I'll just make long story short, so you can read about this in my book or find it in various videos online. This part is very public. I ended up massively in debt. So by the time of our story, I had worked my way out of debt, but I was not in a super happy place in my life, to say the least. I was working a W-2 job that I did not enjoy. I was just doing it because I needed the money. My father and I had recently become estranged. My ego was bruised from losing all this money and ending up in debt. And I gained a lot of weight, and I'd stopped taking care of myself. I was just generally in a really bad place. So my mother comes up with the brilliant idea that what I needed was plastic surgery. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. And if you knew my mother, you would understand this, right? Hopefully she's not listening to that comment, but, but strangely enough, it was a really good idea. And again, if you saw me running around the farm on an average day, you would think that was pretty funny. But it was really less about the surgery itself and more about what it represented, kind of like, the walking through fire thing at a Tony Robbins event. Like it's not really the walking through fire. I don't think it's more about like the physical representation of something that's inside your head. And so for me, this idea, represented an opportunity for a fresh start, literally, a new face, a new body, everything, right? We were talking about a lot of plastic surgery, and I wanted it. And so the problem was that, a lot of plastic surgery is a lot of money. And of course, my mother had the idea, but she wasn't going to pay for it. So you know what I did? I booked it for a few months later with the plastic surgeon in Durango where my family lived, and then had to come up with a way to pay for it. So this is the story I've never told. That is how I started getting paid to teach my investment method. True story. I had taught it to a couple of my friends at that point, and they were using it really successfully. And I thought, maybe I could put together a class over a weekend, and that would be enough to pay for the surgery. And so I did. The rest is history. I mean, literally, fairy tale. I had the surgery, turned my life around, did a lot of hard work and therapy, started my investment company as a side hustle while I was working my W-2 job, met my now husband, and, eventually quit my W-2 job to run the company full time. He eventually quit his job as an actuary and came to work full time as our CFO, and $31 million of revenue later, here we are retired, or at least he is, on our farm in Aiken, South Carolina, right? So while in 2000, online funnels weren't even a thing yet, the point is still the same. When you learn the skill of acquiring a customer at a profit, you can create a paycheck at will. In fact, I don't know, for those of you who are in other countries other than the US listening to this, I don't know if it's the same way there, but here, probably not actually, but here in the United States, we have a major crisis where all of these kids are graduating from college with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. Well, I have an idea. Instead of going to college, they can pay me $250,000 to teach them how to build a reverse funnel. And they'll be able to pay off their tuition in a year with what I taught them, instead of being a lifetime of being in debt, and they'll have a true life skill to show for it. I mean, sounds like I'm being facetious, but I'm not. In fact, my niece is 13 years old. She's already brilliant at it. Is this making sense? When you know how to create an online sales funnel, and specifically a bottom-focused funnel rather than the conventional top-down approach, it doesn't matter what business it is. You can always make money. A profitable sales funnel is a paycheck at will. So let me ask you a question. If you could do what I showed you in secret number 1 and create a hook that compelled people to act on your offer, and then you could use that hook to do what I showed you in secret number 2 to drive qualified leads into your funnel, and if you could, as we discussed in secret number 3, convert that lead into a profitable customer anytime you want, do you think you could be successful? Well, yeah, you bet your bottom bippy you can, right? Is it just me, or is that the cat's pajamas? It's cool, right? But I also wonder how many of you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed because we've covered so much. Because it is a lot to process. So would it be okay with you guys if I spend, what time is it? 6:04. 10 minutes or so going over a special offer that I created for you to help you implement all this? If so, would you just give me a thumbs up in the Q&A box if you would? Cool. Thanks. All right. Whoops. If I could get my, there we go, slides going. Excellent. So it's called the Reverse Funnel Accelerator. And just to clearly manage expectations up front, I only have 4 spots available for this. And you'll understand why in just a minute. So let me tell you what it is first, and then I'll tell you next steps. So with the Reverse Funnel Accelerator, the first thing is that you get immediate lifetime access to all the reverse funnel video content in our private members area, including lifetime updates. And let me just explain what we cover in those video modules. So section 1 includes all the foundational concepts, a lot like some of the material that we covered here tonight. Section 2 covers setting up the plumbing, including the Facebook pixel. Section 3 is all about the hook, which we've talked about how important that is tonight. Section 4 covers conversion events like the 3 video series or webinars or Facebook Lives. Section 5 covers what I call the long-ass email sequence and the sales page. Section 6 is all about retargeting to turn more didn'ts into dids. And Section 7 is about all the ways that we can increase lifetime value of a customer. Now, before we get much further, actually, let me go back and make sure you realize who this is for. This is for online course creators, coaches, consultants, or anyone who makes a living from their expertise and needs an online sales funnel. It doesn't matter whether you're just getting your business started or already very successful. What matters is, number 1, that you believe in yourself, and number 2, that you are willing to do whatever it takes. Knock down walls, face down a saber-toothed tiger if you have to build the business and the lifestyle that you've always dreamt about. Now, you might be thinking at this point about jumping off the call because you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I just do not even have time. Even if this sounds great, but I don't have time for one single more thing on my plate, which I get, but I'm telling you right now is a mistake because it is a limiting belief that is holding you back from success. Time is not the issue. Prioritization is. Most of our days are just filled with busyness. It doesn't really move the needle. Micropreneurs like us have to be obsessed with creating leverage. You want to know what leverage is? I recently ran a Facebook project that gave me 2,480% return in 2 days with an investment of 6 hours of my time. And you can get that sort of result, you make time. It's simple as that. So again, when you sign up, you're going to get instant access to all of the reverse funnel content, which is a total value of $1,997. I'm going to talk fast so that I can get through this. Okay. Because there's a lot to it. As so part of this special package, though, you're also going to get a 14-day free trial of my recommended CRM and email platform, which is ActiveCampaign, which is what I use. And get this, I will include my personal 4-campaign webinar series, which is yours to keep, copy, hack, whatever you want to do with that. Plus, if you decide to keep ActiveCampaign after the free trial is over, you'll get 25% off the ActiveCampaign plan for as long as you remain a subscriber. Because when you have ActiveCampaign, you'll be able to automate your online funnel without the huge learning curve that the other platforms have and without the high cost of it too. So if you were using something like, say, Infusionsoft or MailChimp or Aweber, you'll be able to get rid of those. And the reason I'm offering you this, by the way, I'm not making any money off of this. It's just that, so I went out the other day and signed up for a reseller account, and they give me a 25% discount, so I'm just passing through that discount. Okay. But the reason I'm doing it is because when I was first figuring all this stuff out, I spent so much time trying to get all these pieces of the process built out. And all of that time and energy was taken away from what I was really supposed to be doing, which was acquiring customers at a profit. I was an Infusionsoft certified partner. I taught people how to use Infusionsoft, and I just, you know what? I just finally gave up. ActiveCampaign is so much easier and so much cheaper, and has so many more capabilities than Infusionsoft even, at a fraction of the price. I think I was spending like $497 a month on Infusionsoft plus VAs to set things up for me and keep them running, and yikes. Anyway, I don't want you to have to do that. So not only do I want to give you an opportunity to try ActiveCampaign, which I think is hands down right now the best and most effective CRM and email platform, but I'm going to give you my 4-campaign webinar funnel as well so that you don't have to recreate the wheel on that. And I'm just going to give it to you with this package. Sound cool? I've never offered this before anyone else before tonight. This is just for you guys, but I think it's going to be good. In fact, one other benefit is that you would be working in the same system as me, so your screens and capability would be the same as mine, and that is a $12,997 value with all of my campaigns in there. Now, when you invest today, you'll also get access to the swipe file containing my Facebook ad copy for cold traffic. Now, if you don't know the term cold traffic, that's just people who've never heard of you before, because we would typically write different copy for them than someone who had heard of you before. And the people who haven't heard of you, that's most people. They're also the hardest to convert. And so I'm going to give you the swipe file template that I use for my ads. Now, by the way, you saw that copy because that template is, number one, the one that I pasted in when we created that ad, and number two, for those of you who came through an ad, the one that you responded to. Now, it isn't that you use the exact copy. It's a swipe file. It's a template where, each section you can see, it breaks down with, okay, this is what we're trying to do here. This is the purpose there. This is the story we tell here, and so you just use that as kind of a skeleton that you hang your own ad copy on. And this is a big, big deal because I've worked on that ad copy pretty much nonstop for, I don't know, almost a year, to get it perfected. I don't know what I've spent testing it. And you can see when we went in there, it was generating webinar leads at under $2 a piece, which is fabulous. Most people are really happy and satisfied to get leads at $7 to $10, which sometimes you don't have a choice because really competitive niches. But, you're not going to have to go through all that time and expense because I'm giving that swipe template to you as a special bonus, which would be much faster and easier for you to generate those low-cost qualified leads we talked about. That's a $1,997 value. You guys want to get your hands on that? I sure would have back in the day. Next, you're also going to get 12 months of our private Facebook discussion group. That's where all my peeps hang out to help one another out, get their questions answered, and brainstorm ideas. Of course, I'm in that group it depends on the schedule, but almost a daily basis. That's sort of like our Owen's restaurant. That is a $997 value. You get 12 months of twice monthly live member calls with me. Those are group calls. They're on the second and fourth Monday of each month. The first one each month is about your funnels. We do a member hot seat and open Q&A where we go through funnels and review them as a group. We give recommendations, suggestions, learn also from the funnels of some of our more successful members. And you get to obviously always ask any questions that you have. And then the second call of each month is about my funnel, because part of this program is that it's designed as an ongoing case study where I share with you at least once a month, but usually also in the Facebook group, what I am doing and learning and failing at and succeeding at and what results I'm getting from all the different ideas that I am experimenting with in my own funnel. And that is a $5,976 value. And then finally, the big, big deal that makes this really special and why it's limited to only 4 people is you will also get 12 weekly 1-hour one-on-one calls with me. So that is 4 months of weekly calls where you and I work together to implement the reverse funnel in your business. So as you may be aware, I used to offer these calls to my founding members when I first started this program, and I took them away because I just, I don't have the time to do them for everybody, hence the limited number of spots that I'm making available for the special offer tonight. But one thing that is very interesting and very clear when you look at the 60 or so members of my program and you look at which ones are most successful, it's obvious that the ones who invested in the coaching, or, in the early days rather than the DIY programs, they're doing much, much better. Now, we can argue whether it's about the fact that I'm so great or there's built-in accountability factor when you have those weekly calls, who knows? But the fact remains those folks are getting far better results than the ones who are trying to figure it out on their own. Just saying. That's a $12,700 value. So when we total all that up, the grand total is $33,664 worth of value. Now, obviously, right? $35,000. Sorry. I mean, I'm not going to charge you $35,000. You guys know that. But let me ask you this. If all this package did was create a hook that turbocharged every piece of marketing content you put out from here on out, every email, every business card, every brochure, every podcast, every ad, would that be worth $36,000 to your business? If all it did was bring in an inexhaustible supply of low-cost, profitable, qualified leads, would that be worth $36,000? Yeah, well, that's silly. Yes. Now, again, obviously, I'm not going to charge you $36,000, but if I did charge you that much, $36,000, if all it did was allow you to create a paycheck whenever you needed it at will, would it be worth $36,000? Oh, I want to go to Argentina for 5 weeks this January. Got to go pay for it. How am I going to do that? Oh, funnel. It's a no-brainer, right? So here was my dilemma. I had two choices here. I could go as cheap as possible and try to sell it to as many people as possible. But the problem with that is that I couldn't really pile on the value for you. And the other thing is, quite honestly, that's not what I really enjoy. I enjoy working with people. I don't enjoy making programs. I enjoy working them with people. So, the other option, which is obviously a bit more money, but in exchange for that, I can dedicate more time, energy, and resources to help guarantee your success. So if you had a successful online sales funnel today, what would it be worth to you? How much would you pay to have that one successful sales funnel? And you could probably see why people pay, $25,000 and up for this all the time. Hell, they pay more than that for a single sales letter. I'm always amazed what great copywriters get. But anyway, it's because this is not a cost. It's an investment. So you've already seen how it's worth $36,000. And even at the rack rate of $4,997, it's a great deal. But because what I really need right now is some powerful case studies from uber successful students, I'm going to give you a very special offer. I'm going to open up 4 spots in the Reverse Funnel Accelerator for 4 people I think are highly likely to succeed. 4 of you who are most likely to be a great case study, the ones that I would be proudest to show off their results to other people who are considering this program in the future. So if that is you, I will offer you this program for only $2,997. So what I need from you is to indicate to me whether you are interested in the program at that price by going to reverseyourfunnel.com/accelerator and filling out the application there. Accelerator is 2 C's, 1 L, and 1 R, by the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to review everyone's application in chronological order. That is important. That whole urgency and scarcity thing. That's the incentive to be first. And then I'm going to schedule calls with those who I think are a fit. I'll take the first 4 in order that I think are a fit. And again, just to be clear, okay, the idea is, I'm looking for people who are going to be a great fit for me to work with to gas your business. Okay, does that make sense? What I forgot to say is that it closes Friday night at midnight, but it's in reverse chronological order, so I wouldn't wait that long. Now, you have two choices. Choice number one is to do nothing. Because if you do nothing with the information that you've learned the last hour, then what do you get? Well, that's right, you get nothing. Or you can choose to take a leap of faith. Believe in yourself and the business that you have, and work with me to implement the reverse funnel in your business. And one last thing, at any time during that 4-month period, you are covered by what I am calling my honor guarantee. This is new. It's only for this accelerator program. I know the reverse funnel works because it's the exact same process that I'm using in my business and my other students are using in theirs. However, if you're on the fence, or if you other trainings have left you skeptical, then what I want to do is give you every chance possible to turbocharge your business with absolute confidence, which is why I give you the full 120 days, the 4 months that we're working together to go through the accelerator, follow the implementation checklist, work with me one-on-one, and then realize for yourself just how amazing it feels to build a thriving, growing business. You get a full refund provided that you've done the work and it didn't work for you. And that's only fair in this case, right? So that if you don't give it your full effort, that's on you, not me. Look, I only want those people who are ambitious and driven to make their business successful. That's who I enjoy working with. That's who I can have the biggest impact with. And I'm not guaranteeing your work or effort. I'm only guaranteeing mine. That sounds fair, right? So the real question is this: is it worth gambling just a few minutes of your time to go fill out that application? Because if you believe in yourself, if you believe that with a guide and the proper system, you can build a better business, even if it only does a tiny, tiny fraction of what I claim today, then it still pays for itself. Like, right, $3,000, one client. So again, you get lifetime access to the reverse funnel course. So I have the active campaign with my personal 4-campaign webinar funnel that you can swipe, hack, copy, however you want. If you keep active campaign, I'll pass through my 25% reseller discount to you for as long as you remain a subscriber. Any plan, you'll get the swipe file, my Facebook ad copy, 12 months of the private Facebook discussion group, 12 months of twice monthly live member calls, and 12 weeks of 1-hour one-on-one calls for me. And as I said, it's only for 4 people, reviewed in chronological order. It's by application only, and the application closes Friday night at midnight my time. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to sweeten the pot just a little bit more. I'm working on something. It's private for my reverse funnel members. But it's the private list of my recommended tools and sources. It's not finished, but here's the deal. If you submit an application before midnight tonight my time, and look, it has to be a thoughtful one. Please don't submit a bunch of crap just to get this from me, right? Because I'm going to be really pissed if you waste both of our time just to get this silly thing. It's not silly. It's actually really valuable, but still, like, this is for people who are serious, okay? So honor system here, if you're not really serious in doing the program, do not submit an application, okay? But if you are serious and you submitted your application by tonight at midnight, as soon as that source list is complete, hear that, not done yet, but very soon, then I will send you that list of my recommended tools and sources that I'm putting together, which is a member-only deal, which is an additional $797 value just for legitimate applications before midnight. So now you get all of that. I won't go through it again. The videos, that campaign, the 20% discount, the swipe file, the whole thing, the 12 one-on-ones with me. And if you apply tonight, I'll send you my members only tools and sources list when it's finished, all for only $2,997 and an expectation of some amazing case studies when you are crushing your business, thanks to the accelerator program that you'll be really proud to share, and I will too. Fair? All right. Now, before, I'm going to take your questions. Hopefully, you've written them down. I just want to say one more thing, really, really quickly, and then we're going to go to questions. I'm guessing that there are two kinds of people listening to me right now. You're either a doer or a dabbler. And the dabblers love to sit and listen and learn, but they rarely ever do anything. And they're often just looking for an excuse not to move forward. But some of you are doers. You're not sure how this is going to work for you, but you see how it works for me and for other people, so you have faith that it'll work for you as well. And what I've found is that it's the doers who get ahead in life, while the dabblers don't ever really seem to progress. So are you a doer or are you a dabbler? That's my question for you. Okay, so what questions do you have for me? More than happy to take any questions on anything that we talked about here, or any topics. I know there is also a little delay here, which is always a challenge. I always just felt ready to move on, and then, oh, there's a question. Anything? Yeah, Andy, unfortunately, the May cutoff is, I can't extend that deadline. This is available to you, though, if you want to apply. Anyone? How many of you already filled out that application? Okay. Yeah, another question over here about the one-on-ones. So the question is, are those regularly scheduled at the same time every week? It's up to you. I have people who do it both ways. My schedule tends to be pretty similar every week, so it's easy for me to do scheduled every week for the people who want that, to be able to just say, okay, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, we're going to meet. But I would say it's probably about 60-40. 60% of people just schedule them as they need them, ad hoc, and the other 40% tend to leave it scheduled. So totally up to you how you want to do that. I'm flexible on that. See, I'll move over here to the chat. Once a lead is generated by a Facebook, do you still do a lot of your sales through email sequence? Yes and no. We do both. There is retargeting, both site retargeting, email retargeting, and ad retargeting. It's interesting. When I first started, I went really crazy on the retargeting, and what I realized is that there is definitely a point of diminishing returns, particularly relative to how far along you are and how big your audiences are. If you're huge, some of my really big clients, their retargeting audiences are bigger than some of our audiences, our cold, or not cold, but, warm audiences. So for them, they can get a really good return on some pretty detailed retargeting. But for most of us, particularly when we're first starting out, we have to do what I call batching, and sort of the 80-20, the ad and site retargeting, so that we can get a return on it that's worthwhile. The answer is, that's a great question. The answer is both, but obviously in terms of driving someone to the sale, email also absolutely plays a critical role. But people just don't keep reading email sequences for as long as they used to. That's the balancing act you've got to do. Used to, someone would read forever, or now not so much. A question about what do I recommend, Facebook Live or webinars? You know, Facebook Live is really tempting, and we're definitely moving in that direction. But I actually did an experiment myself just the other night, and there's a place for Facebook Live, but you know, it's kind of back to that one thing, right? Is Facebook Live, and now we're talking about conversion events here, right? Where we're trying to like basically take the place of a webinar. Is, you know, Facebook Live the one thing that's going to make everything else easier or unnecessary? At this point, it is not. And so while I continue every once in a while to look that way, just to keep an eye on it, at what point does it make sense? It's not working that well right now. So I would say I'm still going the web. I'm still playing right this minute. I'm still kind of toying between the webinars and the 3 video series, which is kind of my go-to conversion event. What else? Someone asked earlier, it might have been Andy, if this was being recorded. I think Gunnar also asked. It is being recorded. I may have to go back to GoToWebinar because I've just been really unhappy with the Zoom. It seems like, you know, I have great internet. I have Retina display. Why on earth you would be seeing a you know, a screen that's not clear, and or even the recordings have been unclear. So I'm really not been that happy with Zoom. I think it may end up being a case of you get what you pay for, and I'm going to end up going back to GoToWebinar on that. But anyway, that's a long way to say yes, it is being recorded, and you will get a replay link for that absolutely pronto. Anything else I can answer for you guys? Okay. Those were great questions. I appreciate those. Now, when you're ready to change your life, this is what you need to do. I'm gonna do it as a video again because it's just easier and faster. If I can get to the right screen, there we go. So what I want you to do is open up a browser window, and any of them are okay, either, you know, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whatever, and you're going to type in reverseyourfunnel.com/accelerator. Again, 2 C's, 1 L, 1 R, accelerator, and then on that page you can see the landing page there. It's just a very basic, very, very basic page, which is very much in keeping with the lean philosophy of the reverse funnel. There is a recap of the program and a button. You can click that button to apply and fill out the form. Bob, it is different. The offer, what's at reverseyourfunnel.com, is a do-it-yourself program that doesn't have the one-on-ones with me or a lot of these bonuses, the active campaign, my swipe file, my templates, pretty much that what's on reverseyourfunnel.com is just the video library, the private Facebook group, and the monthly calls. So that's a major difference. Major difference between the two. The value, I mean, obviously with the DIY program, because there's not a lot of one-on-one, there's not the constraints, resource constraints that we have. But what I've done on purpose is just really try to pile on the massive amount of value in this accelerator offer that I'm doing tonight. Because one, it's what I enjoy, and two, I really, because I enjoy it. But there's, for partially selfish reasons, I'm now to the point where I really, I got, my funnel down. I am ready to pour gas on it. But one of the things that I'm really missing is I need a lot more really, students who are crushing it that I can do testimonials and case studies with. And so I'm going to give you every possible, I'm going to give you some guardrails to hopefully, manufacture some really great case studies together. That's kind of the idea of this accelerator. Put it through its paces and show the world what it can do. It'd be really fun to do that together. That's the idea. All right. Any other questions that I can answer real quick before we sign off? If you have any issues or questions at all, you can always email me, kim@reversefunnel.com, reverseyourfunnel.com, not reverse funnel, reverseyourfunnel.com, or call me. My phone number, 803-335-2109, is all over my website. And I'm, happy. Also you can also ping me via intercom in the bio. You see it in the bottom right-hand corner, of the screen, all my screens. So, feel free, whatever you need, to get your questions answered. And I hope that you are one of the 4 that I end up working with over the next few months. So come on, y'all. Let's get growing.